Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. S. Devikala, Associate Professor in the Department of Chemistry, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. In today's class, we'll be discussing about what is air pollution, that is, how the atmosphere is get contaminated by means of industrial activities and human activities. What are the various air pollutants? What will be the effects, both humans and animals? And then, how to control the different types of air pollution. Let us see one by one. So air is essential for life. Without we could not survive even for a few minutes. So the atmosphere is layered. This you know very well. The different layers of atmosphere already under environmental segments class we have seen this troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. So the normal percentage composition of atmosphere, nitrogen plays the major role, 78.1%, oxygen 20.9, carbon dioxide 0.03%. Remaining everything else, it includes your noble gases like krypton, xenon, argon, and helium, methane, and sulfur dioxide. So generally, air pollution it consists of gases, liquids, or solids present in the atmosphere in high enough levels to harm humans, other organisms, or materials may be defined as any atmospheric condition in which certain substances are present in such concentration that they can produce undesirable effects on human and its environment. So any invisible or visible particle or gas found in the air that is not part of the original normal composition. So air pollution can be defined in other way also. That is pollutant that may be either emitted directly into the atmosphere or formed within atmosphere itself. There are two types of pollutant, primary and secondary. Primary, once it is released, emitted into the atmosphere, it will remain as it is. Whereas secondary, due to some photochemical reactions, it may be converted into other form. So the primary sources of air pollutants, what are all the activities? Transportation by means of transportation 57%, fuel combustion 21, industrial process, industrial activities 12, and then other activities, miscellaneous 10. So the various main sources of air pollution are automobile exhaust, and then from industries, domestic sources, tobacco smoke, and the other activity that is miscellaneous. So although the Earth atmosphere extends to several layers above the surface, it is only the first 30 kilometer that can hold the major portion of atmospheric gases. Man is most directly concerned with only 8 to 10 kilometers of the atmosphere. The level of atmospheric pollution at any one time it depends on the meteorological factors, for example, topography, air movement, and climate. So the vertical diffusion of pollutants it depends on the temperature gradient. When there is a rapid cooling of lower layers of air, that is called as temperature inversion, there is little vertical motion and the pollutants and water vapor remain trapped at the lower levels, and the result is called as smoke. We know very well smoke is nothing but smoke plus fog. The temperature inversion, which is more frequent in winter than in the summer. So the main five categories of pollutants are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter, and then ground level ozone. Let us see one by one in detail. So carbon monoxide, that is due to incomplete combustion of fuels. As a result, it is released into the atmosphere. So the effect of carbon monoxide into the atmosphere that leads to high level of CO. So it extremely when instead of we know the process of oxyhemoglobin. Oxygen combines with the hemoglobin. As a result, oxyhemoglobin is formed. This oxyhemoglobin that acts as an oxygen carrier. Whereas instead of oxygen, if it is being replaced by CO, means it forms CO, that is carboxyhemoglobin. This carboxyhemoglobin, if you inhale continuously, it leads to heart attack and the brain. It will affect heart, brain, and other organs. So the immediate effect will be headache, but when the condition is prolonged, it leads to fatal, that is death. Then the second category, sulfur dioxide, it is mainly due to from the sulfuric acid power plants, or in the manufacture of H2SO4. Then the third one is nitrogen dioxide. So the level of exposure to nitrogen dioxide that should not be exceeded, according to WHO, the guideline levels are 400 microgram per m3. Then the particulate matter. Particulate matters are generally colloidal particles. Colloids are nothing but particle dispersion of solid or liquid particles in gas, that is colloids. And then the ground level ozone, the ozone that is present in the stratosphere, that is beneficial to us, whereas the ground level ozone is highly harmful. So it seriously damages crops and vegetation. Not only crops and vegetation, it leads to skin cancer. So all the five it together form smog, that is smoke plus fog. So smog is made of mixture of pollutants in the atmosphere. So as I told you now, combination of words smoke and fog. There are two types: reducing smog as well as the other one. The reducing smog characterized by sulfur dioxide and particulate, whereas photochemical smog characterized by ozone and other oxidants. So first smog related death that was reported in 1873 in London, that leads to death of 500 people. So can you imagine how much worse the atmosphere is now? It limits visibility, decreases UV radiation, yellow or black color over cities. It causes respiratory problems and bronchial related death. So in this slide you can see how your smog will look like. So other pollutant, it includes carbon dioxide, that is generally due to combustion of fuels only. Volatile organic compounds, nothing but VOCs. So VOCs are divided into separate categories of methane and non-methane. So non-methane volatile organic compounds. So methane is extremely efficient greenhouse gas which contributes to enhanced global warming. Then the next one is polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbon, short form PAH. These are formed mainly as a result of pyrolytic processes, especially the incomplete combustion of organic materials as well as in natural processes such as carbonization. So the concentration of BAP in a room extremely polluted with cigarette smoke can be 22 mg per meter cube. In the past, chimney sweeps and tar workers were generally exposed to substantial amounts of PAH, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and there is sufficient evidence that skin cancer in many of these workers was caused by PAH only. Some of the toxic metals, lead, cadmium, copper. Apart from that, you have CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, and then your PAN, peroxyacetyl nitrate. These are also comes under the categories of air pollutants. So the next one, we have to monitor. How to monitor? Let us see. So the best indicators of air pollution: sulfur dioxide, smoke and suspended particle. The detailed procedure given over here. Then the types of there are two types of air pollution. One is indoor air pollution, that is domestic level. The other one is outdoor air pollution. It includes industries. So in this slide, you can see clearly how the indoor air pollution occurs. That is from the bedroom, VOCs from perfumes, airspray, nail polish, and so on. And then from laundry room, again VOCs from cleaning products, and so on. And then from kitchen, cooking devices, fuel oil, outdoor air, particulate matter, VOCs. And then from bathroom, odor and other microbial pathogens. Then from AC unit, air conditioning units, once again VOCs. And then from the living room, animal air, dust, dander, tobacco smoke, diesel particles, and the VOC. These are all the causes by which indoor air pollution occurs. So indoor air pollution is one of the most critical global environmental problems, probably exposes more people worldwide to important air pollutant than dust pollution in outdoor. Rural people in developing countries may receive as much as two-thirds of global exposure to particulates. So according to WHO, around 3 billion people still cook and heat their homes using solid fuels in open fires and leaky stoves. About 2.7 billion burn biomass, which includes wood, animal dung, crop waste, and a further 0.4 billion people use coal. Such cooking and heating produces high levels of air pollution with a range of health damaging pollutants. So again, some more information with respect to indoor air pollution. So in poorly ventilated dwellings, indoor smoke can be 100 times higher than acceptable levels for small particles. Exposure is particularly high among women and young children who spend the most time near the domestic. So the pollutant, respirable particles, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, formaldehyde. What are all the sources involved? Given here. Similarly, sulfur dioxide, ozone, radon, asbestos, mineral fibers. Then the smoky cooking fuels. So open fire cooking stoves, it produce heavy smoke which contains fine particles, carbon monoxide, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Then carbon monoxide, what are the sources? We have seen even then some more elaborate information. Kerosene, wood stoves and coal fires, fireplaces, furnaces, leaking chimneys and vents, room and water heaters, vehicle exhaust in closed garage, tobacco smoke. Second hand, that is second-hand tobacco smoke. Children whose mothers smoke 70% more respiratory problem. Pneumonia and hospitalization in year 1 is 38% higher. Infant mortality is 80%, 5 times higher risk of sudden infant death syndrome. Then by means of pesticides also. So spraying pesticides at home or at school. Higher concentration near the floor. Persistence in some surfaces. It includes carpets, soft toys. Overuse and misuse. Children's behavior and inhalation of pesticides. Crawling. Playing close to the floor. Flush toys. Hand to mouth. Object to mouth. Then by means of mosquito coils also. Household use in Africa, Asia, South America. Major active ingredient pyranthrins. Long-term exposure linked to asthma and wheezing. So solvents and volatile organic compounds, which includes all alkanes, aromatic hydrocarbons, alcohols, aldehydes, ketones. The sources will be solvents, fabric softeners and cleaning products, paints, glues, waxes and polishing materials, spray propellants, dry cleaning fluids, pens and markers, binders and plasticizers. If we move on to cosmetics, air sprays and perfumes. So the some of the biological pollutants, animal dander, dust mites, molds, infectious agents. The sources will be water damaged surfaces and materials, humidifiers and stagnant water, water vapor from cooking and showering, air conditioning systems, mattresses, upholstered furniture and carpets. So the adverse health effects of indoor air pollutants: acute, that is irritation of mucous membranes. Mucous membranes, it includes eyes, nose, throat, cough, wheeze, chest tightness, increased airway responsiveness to allergens, increased incidence of acute respiratory illness, cold, pneumonia, and so on. Some more chronic problems: long-term exposure decreases lung growth, impairment of pulmonary function, increased susceptibility to chronic obstructive lung disease, including asthma. Then the outdoor air pollution. Worldwide, it is estimated that 1.3 million people, more than half of them in developing countries, die every year from urban outdoor air pollution. So, urban outdoor air pollution is a major environmental health problem which affects people in both developed and developing countries. So, what are all the major effects? It will be ozone, significant decrease in lung infection, inflammation, and pain when breathing, particulate matter air pollution, chronic bronchitis, eczema, as well as people with heart disease, and so on. Nitrogen oxide, it leads to irritate the lungs and lower resistance to respiratory infections such as influenza. Sulfur dioxide, the effect it will be breathing, respiratory illness, changes in the lungs defenses, aggravation of existing heart disease. It will increase. Already problem is there, so it will increase. Then some of the effects of air pollution, it includes acid rain. It is also called as acid deposition, a form of precipitation that contains high levels of sulfuric or nitric acids, can contaminate drinking water and vegetation, can damage aquatic life and corrode buildings. So the effects of air pollution, it includes health aspects and social and economic aspects. Let us see one by one. Health aspects, it includes if the pollution is intense, it may result even in immediate death by suffocation. Elevated lead levels in children have been associated with impaired neuropsychological development as measured by loss of IQ, poor school performance, and behavioral difficulties. The elderly, children, smokers, and those with chronic respiratory difficulty are most vulnerable. Social and economic aspects, which includes destruction of plant and animal life, corrosion of metals, damage to buildings. So this also reduces visibility in towns, can soil and damage clothing. Control of air pollution. So approaches to reduce indoor air pollution. The main things: eliminate or control the sources of pollution, improve the stoves, clean fuels, venting stoves for cooking and heating, regular maintenance of cooking, heating and cooling system. Now and then it should be taken care of. Proper ventilation, dilute and remove pollutants through ventilation with outdoor air. Air cleaning doesn't mean that the air freshener. Air filters and ionizer may be removed and some airborne particles. Gas absorbing material is used to remove gaseous contaminants. Education and advocacy. So education of children, family, community, healthcare providers, and so on. Environment policy making, framework, convention on tobacco control, clean indoor air regulation, community action. So control of outdoor air pollution, that is prevention of escape of toxic substances into the ambient air. Containment can be achieved by a variety of engineering methods such as enclosure, ventilation, and air cleaning. A major contribution in this field is the development of arresters for the removal of contaminants. Replacement, that is, replacing a technological process causing air pollution by a new process that does not. Increased use of electricity, natural gas, and central heating in place of coal have greatly helped in smoke reduction. There is a move now to reduce lead in petrol, which is a cumulative poison. Dilution. Dilution is nothing but it is valid so long as it is within the self-cleaning capacity of the environment. Some air pollutants are readily removed by vegetation. The establishment of green belts between industrial and residential areas is an attempt at dilution. The capacity for dilution is, however, limited and trouble occurs when the atmosphere is overburdened with pollutants. So in this diagram, you can see green belt. Legislation, for example, Clean Air Acts legislation covers such as matters, height of chimneys, powers to local authorities to carry out investigations, research and education concerning air pollution, creation of smokeless zones and enforcement of standard for ambient air quality. So smokeless zone can be given by this symbol. Ozone hole, hole in the ozone layer. So what is ozone hole? The term ozone hole, it refers to annual thinning of the ozone layer. It is observed yearly over the South Pole areas, whereby the amount of ozone in the atmosphere drastically decreases in local spring. Since the beginning of the 80s, one notices that this hole is getting deeper and that the covered surface is getting larger. So based on this, several protocols have been taken up. One is the Montreal Protocol. So in this Montreal Protocol, it was one of the first environmental agreements to formally recognize the precautionary principle. Related actions taken consistent with this principle have included the preemptive decision to ban new ozone depleting substances before they were ever produced commercially. So in 2009, the Montreal Protocol became the first treaty in history to achieve universal ratification with 196 governments, that is parties. As a consequence, it can now be said that the entire global community has legally committed itself to meeting specific time bound targets for the virtual phase out of nearly 100 chemicals that have ozone depleting properties. So with this I'm concluding today's class. In today's class, we have seen what is air pollution, what are the different types of pollutants, what are the different types of air pollution, that is indoor and outdoor, what are the different types of pollutants, primary pollutant, secondary pollutant, what are all the effects. Under effects, we have seen acid rain and ozone layer depletion, and then how to control some of the control measures. We'll meet in some other class. Thank you.